The rain falls in relentless whispers, drumming against the stained glass windows and blending into the soft hum of a nearly empty restaurant. Inside, amidst flickering neon lights and the scent of spilled coffee, a single waitress moves with hesitant grace, her shoulders weighed down by unseen burdens. Her name is Lily, and tonight she's just trying to get through her shift, unaware that every glance, every stumble, is under the watchful eye of someone she's never met, an undercover CEO who has arrived to observe the quiet chaos of her world. Single waitress is humiliated at work, without knowing that the undercover CEO is watching. The words echo in her mind, a distant reminder of the fragile line between dignity and despair. Her hands tremble slightly as she refills a customer's glass, her eyes flickering with exhaustion and hope, both fragile as glass. Every step she takes is a dance of silent resilience, a testament to her strength, even as her heart pounds in her chest like a trapped bird. The restaurant's dim lighting casts long shadows across her face, accentuating the small tears threatening to escape. She feels the weight of the room's indifference pressing down on her, the quiet judgment in every glance from strangers. The hum of the refrigerator, the clink of silverware, and the distant thunder outside create a cocoon of silence around her vulnerability. Her world feels as fragile as the rain-soaked streets outside, yet she presses on, unaware that someone is watching her with a different intent, one that could either shatter her or lift her from this moment of humiliation. Her uniform clings to her, damp from the rain that seeped through her thin jacket. Her eyes flicker with a mixture of fatigue and determination, as if she's fought storms far worse than this one. She's just a girl trying to survive, to find a spark of light amid the shadows of her daily struggles. But tonight, the quiet resilience she wears like a second skin is about to be seen, or misunderstood, by someone who's never judged her before. As she clears a table, her hands stumble and spill a tray of drinks, the sound sharp and jarring in the hushed space. A flicker of embarrassment crosses her face, and her cheeks flush with color, a crimson bloom in the dimness. She quickly mumbles apologies, her voice barely above a whisper, feeling the sting of humiliation that burns deeper than the rain outside. In that moment, she's more than just a waitress, she's a fragile soul caught in the storm of her circumstances, unaware that her vulnerability is being observed from a distance, by someone who sees not just her mistakes, but her strength beneath the surface. The camera lingers on her trembling hands, the rain streaking down the window, the distant rumble of thunder echoing her internal turmoil. The world continues in its quiet chaos, but for Lily, time slows, each heartbeat loud and unsteady, each tear a silent testament to her resilience. The night is thick with silent stories of hope and despair, and somewhere in the shadows, an unseen figure watches, knowing that this moment, this humbling chapter of her life, is only the beginning of something far greater. And as the rain continues to fall, washing away the dust of the day, she stands there, a battered yet unbroken soul, waiting for her story to unfold, unaware that her silent struggle has caught the gaze of someone who might just change everything. Lily stands behind the counter, her fingers trembling as she wipes away a stray tear that has escaped, unnoticed by the busy world around her. The restaurant's hum fades into the background, replaced by the quiet ache in her chest, a ache she's carried for years, hidden behind a forced smile and endless shifts. Her eyes, once bright with dreams, now hold a quiet sadness, like a fading photograph left out in the rain. There's a hollowness in her that no amount of coffee or crowded tables can fill. She feels the weight of her loneliness pressing against her ribs, heavy and unrelenting, as if the world has forgotten her name. Her life has been quiet heartbreaks, lost friendships, unspoken words, dreams deferred by circumstances beyond her control. Her mother's voice, warm and distant, echoes in her mind, reminding her of the girl she once was, full of hope, eager to conquer the world. But time has worn that hope thin, like the edges of a tattered letter she can't bring herself to throw away. She remembers the nights she cried into her pillow, the silent tears slipping down her cheeks as she questioned if she was enough. Rejection, illness, and the ache of unfulfilled promises have carved scars into her heart, marks that she wears quietly, like a second skin. Tonight, as she moves through her routine, she feels invisible, like a ghost in her own life. Her shoulders slump under the weight of unspoken grief, her eyes reflecting a storm of unshed tears. She's tried to hide her pain behind a mask of professionalism, but the cracks are starting to show. The loneliness is a constant companion, whispering doubts into her ear, reminding her that she's unworthy of happiness, of love, of stability. She's been rejected so many times that even hope seems like a distant memory, a fragile thing she's afraid to hold on to anymore. Her hands, usually so steady when serving others, tremble now as she clears the table. She feels the cold sting of shame, the ache of being misunderstood, of feeling like she's invisible in her own life. The tears she thought she'd left behind threaten to surface again, but she quickly wipes her eyes, forcing a fragile smile for a customer who barely notices. Her voice, once vibrant, now feels hollow, like a shadow of her former self. Every small act of kindness she offers feels like an act of rebellion against her own despair. As she retreats to the back room, she leans against the wall, closing her eyes for a moment. The dark beneath her eyelids is a familiar refuge, an echo of the nights she spent lost in her thoughts, questioning if she would ever find peace. The scars of her past are hidden beneath her worn apron, but they remain, silent witnesses to her quiet suffering. She breathes in deeply, trying to calm the storm within, but the ache persists, a reminder that she's been through so much, yet still stands here, fragile and exhausted. The world outside continues its relentless spin, but inside Lily's mind, a different story unfolds, one of grief and resilience intertwined. She's no hero in the traditional sense, just a girl trying to survive the quiet battles that threaten to swallow her whole. Her heart, battered and bruised, still beats with a faint hope that someday, somehow, she might find a moment of peace, an anchor in the chaos. She gazes out the window at the rain-streaked streets, watching the water wash away the dust of her pain, if only temporarily. And somewhere in the shadows, unseen yet present, a presence observes her, quiet, contemplative, not a savior but a witness. In her vulnerability, he sees more than just her tears. He sees the resilience beneath, the flicker of a light struggling to stay alive. His gaze lingers as the rain continues to fall, whispering promises of change and unseen beginnings. Lily's story is far from over, but for now, she remains a fragile soul caught between sorrow and hope, waiting for her next breath to carry her forward. The rain has slowed to a gentle drizzle as the evening deepens, casting a muted glow over the quiet street. Lily steps out from the back entrance of the restaurant, clutching her apron and a small paper bag of leftovers, her shoulders hunched against the cool dampness. The world feels heavy, the weight of unspoken burdens pressing down on her like the dark clouds overhead. She pauses for a moment, eyes fixed on the cracked pavement, listening to the distant drip of water from the eaves and the faint rustling of leaves in the breeze. That's when she notices him, an everyday figure, slightly out of place in the quiet street. He's leaning against a lamppost, hunched over, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn coat. His face is unremarkable, marked by the lines of a life that's seen better days, yet his eyes hold a quiet curiosity, a softness that seems to linger beneath the weariness. He looks like someone who's been lost in thought for hours, a stranger who might have just wandered in from the outskirts of her world. His hair is tousled, and there's a faint scrape on his cheek, as if he's been caught in something rougher than a drizzle. He doesn't appear to notice her at first, gazing down the street with a distant look that makes her wonder what stories he's carrying inside. Lily hesitates, clutching her bag tighter, unsure if she should keep walking or stop. But something about his presence, so unassuming, yet quietly human, draws her in. Without quite knowing why, she takes a slow step forward, the soft crunch of her shoes on wet pavement breaking the silence. He looks up as she approaches, and for a moment, their eyes meet, his steady, gentle, not intrusive but observant. "Raining again," he says softly, voice a little rough but kind. It's not a question, just a simple acknowledgement of the weather, as if he's seen this all before. Lily nods, offering a tentative smile that feels more like a fragile truce than genuine happiness. "Yeah," she replies, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's been a long day." He doesn't push for conversation, merely nods in understanding. His gaze lingers on her for a beat longer before he gestures toward the corner cafe, a small, battered place that's just visible down the street. You working late? She hesitates again, then nods. Yeah. Just finishing up. Her voice cracks slightly, revealing more vulnerability than she intended. She quickly looks away, noticing how her hands tremble, the remnants of exhaustion and emotional weight pressing into her bones. He offers a faint, imperfect smile. I used to work nights too, he says quietly, eyes drifting back toward the rain-slicked street. For a moment, they stand there in silence, two strangers sharing an unspoken understanding that life's hardships don't discriminate. His presence, humble and unremarkable, feels like a quiet acknowledgement of her struggles, not a solution, but a gentle reminder that she's not alone in feeling worn down by the world. The rain begins to fall again, softer this time, as if nature itself is offering a lullaby. Lily's gaze dips to her feet, then back up to him, and she feels a flicker of something she's long forgotten, an ember of connection, fragile but real. Without thinking too much, she offers him the leftover food she's clutching. Here, she says softly. You look like you could use it more than me tonight. Her voice is hesitant, unsure if this small act will be enough to bridge the distance between them. He accepts it silently, a slight nod of gratitude, and in that gesture, she sees a reflection of her own quiet resilience, an acknowledgement that sometimes, kindness isn't loud or dramatic, but simple and genuine. As he turns to walk away, he pauses for a moment and looks back. Take care of yourself, he says, voice gentle but firm. And she stands there, watching him disappear into the mist, feeling the faintest warmth amid the chill. The street feels a little less empty now, a little less cold. For a second, the rain's rhythm seems to slow, and Lily breathes in the quiet beauty of that fleeting human connection, imperfect and fragile, yet powerful enough to remind her that even in the darkest moments, a small act of kindness can plant a seed of hope. She turns back toward the restaurant, her steps lighter, knowing that sometimes, the smallest gestures can change everything, like a whisper in the rain, soft but enduring. The rain has softened to a gentle mist as Lily steps out of the restaurant, her mind still lingering on the quiet exchange with the stranger. She clutches her small bag, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle deeper into her bones. The street is quieter now, the glow of the streetlights casting long, faint shadows that seem to stretch and breathe with the night. As she walks, she notices him again, leaning against the same lamppost, still watching the world with that same gentle curiosity. This time, she hesitates, her steps slow, uncertain if she should approach or simply pass by. But something in her feels different, a flicker of warmth that wasn't there before. She takes a breath and quietly approaches, her voice barely above a whisper. It's still raining. Do you want some coffee? I have a little extra at the restaurant. The words feel small, almost hesitant, but they carry a quiet sincerity. His eyes widen just slightly in surprise, then soften. Thanks, he whispers, offering a faint, imperfect smile. She retrieves her keychain, unlocking the door to the small cafe she works at, and gestures for him to follow. Inside, the warmth wraps around them like an old, familiar blanket. She pours 2 cups of steaming coffee, the aroma filling the sparse space, and hands him one. Their fingers brush briefly, an accidental touch, yet one that lingers longer than expected. In that shared silence, a fragile connection begins to form, built not on grand gestures, but on simple acts of kindness that quietly unravel the loneliness both of them carry. Over the next few days, their interactions become slow, almost tentative, like the first delicate strokes of a painting. Lily finds herself sharing her lunch with him, an extra sandwich she packed just in case she didn't get to eat. He accepts it with genuine gratitude, not as charity but as a gesture of shared humanity. Sometimes he offers to walk her home after her shift, just to make sure she's safe in the quiet streets, the umbrella he holds out shielding her from the drizzle. Small, everyday moments, like sharing a cigarette outside the cafe, or exchanging a quick smile when their paths cross, begin to weave a fragile thread between them. Lily feels a little less invisible with him nearby, the weight of her solitude lightening ever so slightly. She notices how he notices little things, how she presses her fingers to her lips when she's lost in thought, or how she tucks her hair behind her ear when she's nervous. These tiny acts of attention, so unassuming, feel like quiet victories, breaking down the barriers of her isolation without any need for words. One evening, as she struggles with her apron after a long shift, he appears at the door, holding a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "I thought you might need this," he says softly, revealing a simple, warm blanket. It's nothing special, but to Lily it's a lifeline, a small gesture that says she's seen, remembered, cared for. She accepts it with trembling hands, feeling the gentle ache of gratitude swell inside her chest. The night feels darker, but her heart is lighter, illuminated by these tiny acts of kindness that seem insignificant yet are anything but. They are threads weaving her out of her isolation, one delicate stitch at a time. As the days pass, her world begins to feel a little more connected, less fractured, more whole. The external struggles, the mounting pressure at work and the shadows of her past, loom just beyond the horizon, threatening to break her fragile peace. But she clings to these moments, the shared coffee, the walks under the rain, the simple acts of offering and receiving, that remind her she's not alone in this quiet, unpredictable storm. She looks at him now, not with the dependency of someone in need, but with a quiet recognition of the small, powerful ways kindness can reshape the world around her. And in her eyes there's a flicker of hope, a gentle promise that even amid chaos, the smallest gestures can kindle something resilient and true. The rain begins to fall again, softer now, as if nature itself is watching over her fragile awakening. The street whispers stories of quiet kindness, and Lily feels the first stirrings of a new chapter, one written not with grand gestures, but with the tender, unspoken acts that break down walls and build bridges in the most humble ways. The air feels heavier as Lily steps out onto the street after her shift, the faint glow of the streetlights casting long shadows that stretch like silent witnesses to her exhaustion. She clutches her coat tighter, the warmth of her small connection with him still lingering in her mind. But as she walks, distant voices drift through the night, a harsh, familiar chorus that suddenly feels much louder than the rain or the quiet street. It's her family, her world of roots and expectations, echoing from a nearby phone booth. She pauses, her heart pounding, as the sound of their voices rises, angry, disappointed, unforgiving. Words like shame, disgrace, and what will people say? Slice through the still air. Her stomach tightens, she recognizes the tone, the unmistakable voice of her mother, stern and cold. Her eyes dart around, searching for safety, but all she sees are the unyielding shadows and the distant glow of her small apartment building. Her fragile world, built on small acts of kindness and quiet hope, suddenly feels like it's crumbling beneath her feet. Her mind races with doubt. Had she made a mistake? Was she foolish to believe she could find peace, even if just for a moment? Her hands tremble as she clutches her phone, the screen flickering with incoming messages, judgmental texts, gossip, and the kind of silence that screams rejection. Her breath comes faster, and she feels the weight of her past crashing down again, threatening to drown her in a tide of loneliness. She remembers how her family disapproved of her working nights, of her silent friendships, of the small acts of kindness she's shared. They see her life as a stain, a shame she can't scrub away. And now, with this external storm raging, her connection with him feels like a fragile thread threatening to snap. She's about to turn away from the street, to retreat into the shadows of her apartment, when she spots him, standing just a few steps away, his face etched with concern as he notices her distress. She sees his eyes searching hers, trying to understand the storm inside her. Without a word, he steps closer, offering her his coat in a silent gesture of support, an act as simple as it is profound. She clutches it around her shoulders, feeling the rough fabric against her trembling skin, and for a moment, the world quiets just enough for her to breathe. But the judgmental voices echo in her mind, her family's harsh words, their disapproval ringing like a bell tolling in her ears. "You're just a girl trying to find her place," she whispers to herself. But they don't see that. The external conflict, the relentless judgment of her community, the shame cast upon her, presses down like an oppressive cloud, threatening to extinguish the fragile light she's been nurturing. She looks at him again, her eyes moist with unshed tears, wondering if this moment will be enough to pull her back from the edge or push her further into despair. Her heart aches with the fear of losing everything she's started to build, the faint hope, the small acts of kindness, the quiet moments of connection. Yet she also feels something else, an ember of resilience stirred by his simple presence, a reminder that even in the face of external condemnation, she is not alone. Her voice, trembling but steady, breaks the silence. "They don't understand," she whispers, voice thick with emotion. "I'm just trying to survive." And he, standing there in the rain, does not speak of rescue or salvation. Instead, he quietly offers her a hand, an unspoken promise that, no matter how fierce the storm outside, she has a small anchor to hold on to. The night air is thick with tension, but amid the shadows and whispers, there's a fragile truth emerging, that external obstacles can threaten to tear apart even the most delicate bonds, but they also reveal the strength of those who refuse to let go. Lily's world feels as if it's balancing on the edge of a blade, the external judgment threatening to cut her free from her fragile hope. But in her eyes there's a flicker, an unspoken vow to hold on, to trust in that quiet support, no matter how dark the night becomes. The rain continues to fall softly now, washing over the street like a cleansing wave, as Lily and her silent companion stand together, two imperfect souls caught in a storm, searching for a reason to believe in their fragile, yet unyielding, connection. He remains quietly by her side, the rain softly draping over his shoulders as he watches her shivering, eyes fixed on the distant glow of her apartment building. There's no rush to speak, no grand gestures, just presence. His hands, rough but gentle, stay loosely clasped at his sides, anchoring her in the moment without demanding her attention. The silence stretches between them, thick with unspoken understanding, each breath a shared rhythm that makes the storm outside seem less fierce, less unrelenting. He notices the way her shoulders tremble, the faint quiver in her voice as she finally whispers again, words tinged with vulnerability and fatigue. Instead of offering empty reassurances, he simply lifts his coat, folding it carefully around her slender frame, as if shielding her from more than just the rain. She looks at him, her eyes searching for something, comfort, strength, maybe even permission, to let her feel everything she's been holding inside. He doesn't look away or rush to fix her pain. He just stays, rooted in the quiet certainty that presence can be a form of support just as powerful as words. When her gaze flicks downward, he steps closer without crowding, allowing her space to breathe, to decide whether she wants to lean into him or simply stand beside him. Her hands clutch her coat tighter, but her shoulders relax just a fraction, as if the weight of her fear is momentarily lifted by his steady proximity. Her mind spins with the chaos of her worries, her family's rejection, the whispers behind her back, the gnawing feeling that she's not enough. Yet, in his silence, she finds a mirror of her own endurance, a quiet acknowledgement that she's not alone, even if her world feels like it's crumbling. She notices how he stays still, not trying to fix her, but simply existing beside her, an anchor in her storm. The rain continues to fall, each droplet a gentle reminder of the world's persistent, indifferent march, but his presence offers a different kind of constancy. It's a human thing, an act of loyalty born from understanding, from the knowledge that sometimes staying is enough. That silence, full of unspoken promises, begins to settle over her like a warm blanket, slowly weaving hope into her frayed edges. She feels the faintest crack in her armor, a subtle shift from despair to a cautious openness, an acknowledgement that, perhaps, she doesn't have to face everything alone. Her gaze drifts to the horizon, where the rain begins to lighten, and she takes a deep, trembling breath. Her voice, barely more than a whisper, breaks through the quiet. "Thank you?" It's not a plea for rescue but a recognition of this small, unwavering gesture, this human act of steadfastness. He offers her nothing more than his presence, but in that simple act lies the quiet promise that even amidst the chaos and judgment, she is seen, she is held, and she is enough. As the rain eases into a gentle drizzle and the night sky begins to clear, the world around them feels less like a battleground and more like a shared journey. His steady gaze encourages her to find strength within herself, to see that resilience doesn't always roar, it can be a whisper, a quiet breath, a moment of silent support that sustains her in ways words never could. She begins to sense that the storm outside is not the only tempest she's weathered. Her inner world, her hopes and fears, are also shifting. And with him by her side, she feels just a little more prepared to face whatever comes next, her fragile hope cradled gently in the quiet strength of human presence. As they stand together beneath the lingering clouds, the rain a soft hymn to renewal, she knows that sometimes, the greatest support isn't found in grand gestures but in the steadfast, unwavering willingness of someone to simply stay. In the days that follow, Lily feels a subtle shift stirring within her. It's like the faint glow of dawn breaking through a long, dark night, slow, tentative, yet undeniably present. She begins to notice the small things, the way the morning light filters softly through her window, casting gentle patterns on the wall, reminding her that even in darkness, there is a promise of warmth and renewal. She finds herself humming under her breath during quiet moments, a melody she hadn't sung in years, as if her voice is awakening from a long slumber. Her hands, once trembling from fear and shame, now move with a quiet purpose, organizing her small apartment, tidying the space that for so long felt like a prison. Each act of care she gives herself feels like a silent rebellion against the weight of her past, a declaration that her worth isn't defined by others' judgments or her failures. She begins to reconnect with her own dreams, dusting off the fragments of hope she'd tucked away, dreams of a life where she can work not just to survive but to thrive, to create beauty from her experiences. Her mind drifts to the idea of sharing her story, not as a plea for sympathy but as a testament to resilience, a quiet beacon for others lost in their own storms. She starts volunteering at a local community center, offering her time to teach basic skills, listening to others with a newfound patience. She realizes that her voice, once silenced by doubt, can now be a source of strength for those who need it. There's a gentle, growing confidence in her that surprises even her. She smiles more often now, small, genuine, unforced, feeling the warmth of her own light flickering back to life. She begins to see herself as more than just a survivor of circumstances. She's a creator of her own future. The rain that once seemed to symbolize her despair now feels like a cleansing, washing away the residue of shame and fear. She takes a walk in the park, watching children play and couples stroll, their laughter weaving into her own emerging hope. It's in those moments that she begins to understand her worth isn't something bestowed upon her by others' approval but something she's always carried within. The resilience to keep going, the strength to rebuild, the courage to dream again. The quiet support of that day beneath the rain lingers in her mind, not as a miracle but as a reminder that she isn't alone in her journey. It's a gentle nudge to remember that healing isn't linear, it's a series of small, deliberate steps, each one building on the last. With each passing day, Lily's inner landscape shifts, her doubts soften into questions, her fears into lessons. Her smile grows broader, and her eyes sparkle with a renewed sense of purpose. She begins to speak more openly, sharing her story with others who feel invisible, reminding them that even in the darkest storms, there is a flicker of hope worth holding on to. Her worth is no longer something she seeks externally but something she claims from within, a quiet, unshakable truth. As she stands on the cusp of a new chapter, she feels the gentle pull of the horizon calling her toward possibilities she had once considered unreachable. She understands now that her journey is her own to shape, and her strength is rooted in the knowledge that she can weather any storm, if she only remembers to look inward and trust the light that's always been there. The sky begins to clear, and with it, her spirit lifts, an awakening not born from rescue but from rediscovery. She steps forward, each step a testament to her resilience, each breath a declaration of her worth. And in that quiet, unyielding belief, she moves closer to the life she's been dreaming of, knowing that her story, like the dawn after night, is always waiting to be written anew. The town square is alive with the hum of voices, the vibrant colors of banners fluttering in the breeze, and the gentle hum of anticipation that seems to ripple through the crowd. Lily steps onto the makeshift stage, her hands trembling slightly, but her gaze steady. The microphone feels heavy in her hand, yet her heart beats with a different kind of weight, one born from months of quiet perseverance, and the slow unraveling of her fears. She takes a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face, and begins to speak. Her voice, once tentative, now carries a clarity born from inner strength. She shares her story, not as a plea, but as a testament. She talks about the storm she faced, the judgment, the shame, the moments when she felt invisible, and how she found a fragile but unyielding light within herself. She describes the support she received, not from miracles, but from small acts of kindness, moments of presence, silent offers of loyalty, and the internal awakening that made her realize her worth wasn't dictated by others. Her words flow with honesty and vulnerability, each sentence a step further away from her old fears. As she speaks, she notices faces in the crowd, some familiar, others strangers, eyes that soften, smiles that emerge, nods of understanding. She sees her reflection in their expressions, a woman who has reclaimed her voice. The crowd listens, captivated by her courage to confront her deepest fears in this open space, under the open sky. When she finally pauses, there's a moment of silence, stillness not of fear, but of acknowledgement. Then, from the back, a gentle applause begins, growing gradually into a steady, heartfelt rhythm. It's not just applause for her words, but for her bravery, the quiet, courageous act of standing before her community and revealing her truth. Lily's breath catches as she feels the weight of that collective acceptance, a wave washing over her that lifts her higher than she ever thought she could go. Tears threaten to spill, but they are tears of relief and newfound confidence. She looks out at the crowd, her voice trembling but unwavering. "We all carry stories that we're afraid to tell," she says softly. "But sharing them is how we heal. It's how we find each other again, even in the darkest storms." Her words ripple outward, touching everyone present, reminding them that vulnerability is strength and that acceptance begins with daring to be seen. The community's response feels like a quiet rebirth, an affirmation that her journey wasn't just her own but a mirror reflecting their shared human experience. In that moment, Lily isn't merely speaking to the crowd, she's opening a door for others to step through, to embrace their own truths and fears. The sky above begins to shift, clouds parting just enough for the sun's rays to spill through, casting a golden glow on her, on the gathered faces, on the fragile hope that now feels tangible. The wind carries the scent of blossoming flowers, a gentle reminder that growth often blooms quietly, even amid chaos. As she steps down from the stage, her heart swells with a quiet pride that doesn't shout but whispers, an inner peace that she's crossed a threshold. The applause continues, not as a finale, but as an invitation, a call to all who hear her words to look inward, to find their own courage, and to remember that acceptance begins with the daring act of showing up, vulnerable and true. Lily's journey has brought her here, to this moment of shared vulnerability and collective strength. And as she moves into the embrace of her community, she understands that her story is just beginning, a story of resilience, belonging, and the quiet power of standing tall in front of others, unafraid. The sun, now fully breaking through the clouds, promises that even after the darkest storms, there is always a dawn waiting, a new chapter where each voice, each story matters. Lily stands quietly in her small apartment, the soft glow of the evening casting warm shadows across the worn furniture. The space feels different tonight, less heavy, more open, as if the walls themselves are listening. She's been waiting for this moment, feeling the steady pulse of anticipation in her chest. The door opens slowly, and her mother steps inside, hesitant but with a tentative softness in her eyes. No words are spoken at first, just the quiet, trembling breath of someone who has carried regret like a heavy stone, now willing to set it down. Her mother's gaze flickers over Lily, taking in the changes, the resilience that's emerged from years of silence and disappointment. She moves closer, her steps cautious but deliberate, and reaches out trembling hands to gently hold Lily's. Lily feels the trembling in her mother's touch and recognizes it as a mirror of her own vulnerability. Her throat tightens, but she doesn't look away. Her mother's eyes shimmer with unshed tears, and finally she whispers, "I was wrong. I didn't see you. I thought I knew what was best, but I only saw your struggles. I didn't see your strength, or the fight you were fighting inside. Her voice cracks, fragile and raw, as if peeling back years of pain and misunderstanding. I judged you for working nights, for trying to survive in a world that felt like it was against you. I thought I was protecting you, but I was only pushing you further away. Lily's own eyes fill with tears, not from sadness, but from a deep, aching relief. She has carried this wound in silence for too long, believing that forgiveness might never come. She takes a slow, measured breath, her voice trembling but steady. I needed you to see me, not just the struggles, but the person I'm trying to become. I needed you to understand that my choices are mine, and I am still learning how to forgive myself for what I've been through. Her words hang in the air, vulnerable and honest, as she reaches out and gently touches her mother's hand. Her mother's eyes glisten with tears now, and she nods softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. I see you now, Lily. And I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner. I see the courage behind your quiet struggles, the hope you hold on to even when I couldn't understand. I wish I could take back the hurt I caused, but all I can do now is promise to listen, really listen, and stand by you as you find your way. Her voice breaks, and she pulls Lily into a tentative embrace. It's not a perfect moment, still fragile, still uncertain, but it's real. It's the beginning of something new, built on the foundation of understanding and humility. In that silent, tender embrace, Lily feels the weight of years lift, replaced by a quiet, enduring love. She recognizes that forgiveness isn't a sudden act, but a process, one that grows slowly, like a delicate flower pushing through the cracks of a hardened earth. Her mother's tears are not just of regret but of hope, of a shared desire to heal what was broken. And Lily, in turn, allows herself to believe in the possibility of redemption, knowing that her journey isn't solely about her own resilience, but also about opening her heart to those who once misunderstood her. As they slowly step apart, their eyes meet, an unspoken promise passing between them. The night outside whispers softly through the window, the stars beginning to twinkle amid the darkened sky. The air feels lighter, filled with the gentle promise of renewal. Lily's heart swells with a quiet gratitude, a recognition that true forgiveness is a slow unfolding, a dance of patience and humility. She understands now that pain, when faced with honesty and compassion, can give way to something far more enduring, an unbreakable bond forged through vulnerability and acceptance. And so, in this moment of quiet reconciliation, they stand together, rooted in the hope that even the deepest wounds can soften with time and love. The stars above shine quietly, a poetic reminder that light always finds a way through the darkness, just as forgiveness finds its place in the hearts willing to open. Lily's journey continues, now bathed in the gentle glow of understanding, inviting her to step forward into a future where love and redemption walk hand in hand. The sky, vast and infinite, calls out softly, a gentle nudge to remember that every ending is just a new beginning, waiting to be written with patience, courage, and hope. The night sky stretches endlessly above, a canvas dotted with shimmering stars, each one a silent witness to the stories unfolding below. Lily stands on the quiet hilltop, feeling the gentle breeze caress her face, carrying with it the faint hum of distant crickets and the soft whispers of the wind. She watches as the horizon begins to blush with the first hints of dawn, a delicate palette of pinks and golds slowly spilling across the sky. In that tranquil moment, she feels the weight inside her lighten, a quiet acceptance settling like dawn's first light after a long, dark night. The stars, once distant and cold, now seem to pulse with a gentle warmth, reminding her that even in darkness, there is light, subtle, persistent, and unwavering. She closes her eyes for a moment, breathing in the cool, fresh air, allowing herself to simply be present in this unfolding silence. It's in these quiet spaces, between night and morning, that life whispers its deepest truths, that love, true love, isn't about miracles or flawless endings, but about the simple, steadfast proof that no one is truly alone. Even when the storms rage fiercely, even when shadows threaten to drown us, there is always a dawn waiting to break through. Love is the promise that, in our vulnerability, we find connection, an unspoken understanding that, no matter how fractured or lost we feel, we are part of something larger than ourselves. It's in the shared looks, the silent gestures, the gentle acts of kindness that do not demand recognition but affirm our common humanity. It's in the quiet resilience of a woman who dared to speak her truth, in the forgiving embrace of a mother who finally saw her daughter's strength. It's in the collective breath of a community that, for a moment, stood in acceptance and hope. As the sun rises higher, casting golden rays over the landscape, Lily feels a gentle stirring within her, a subtle call to carry this hope forward, to nurture it like the fragile sprout that pushes through the cracked earth. She understands now that love isn't a fleeting magic, but a continuous act, a choice to remain present, to listen, to forgive, and to believe in the possibility of new beginnings. Her story, like the dawn, is a reminder that even after the longest night, there is always a new day. The horizon expands before her, infinite and full of promise, inviting her, and all of us, to step into the light with courage, patience, and an open heart. The sky, painted with the soft hues of sunrise, whispers a silent song of hope, a melody that lingers long after the stars have faded. It's a gentle reminder that no matter how heavy our burdens, the universe's greatest gift is its capacity to renew itself, just as we can find renewal within ourselves. So, let us hold on to that truth, that love, in its simplest form, is proof that no one truly walks alone. We are all part of this vast, interconnected tapestry, woven together by moments of kindness, understanding, and shared vulnerability. And in that unity, we find our strength, our resilience, and our hope. As you carry this story with you, remember that your voice, your kindness, your courage can be the light in someone's darkness. Share it. Spread it. Because the world needs more of that quiet, steadfast love, more dawns waiting to break through the night. If these stories have touched your heart, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Together, we can nurture the hope that blossoms in every act of kindness, in every moment of understanding. Because, in the end, love isn't just a story, it's the quiet, persistent proof that no one is truly alone, and that the dawn always follows the night.